Hey everyone, before we start today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. Your support means a lot. Thank you so much. Let us return to our main character. Jasmine Cole's eyes fluttered open to unfamiliar brightness. The room was too large, too pristine, too expensive. Panic seized her chest before full consciousness arrived. She bolted upright, clutching white Egyptian cotton sheets against her bare skin. The penthouse stretched before her in sleek, modern elegance, floor-to-ceiling windows revealing Chicago's magnificent skyline, polished concrete floors, minimalist furniture that probably cost more than her annual income. Her breath caught. Not here, not again, but the evidence surrounded her like an indictment. Her emerald cocktail dress pulled on the floor like spilled paint. Her heels lay scattered near the entrance. And worst of all, the warm depression in the pillow beside hers still held the shape of his head. Damian Blackwell's head. Jasmine's fingers trembled as they touched her lips, still swollen from his kisses. Her skin tingled with phantom sensations of his hands moving across her body with familiar possession. Heat flooded her face, part mortification, part something far more dangerous. Because despite knowing this was catastrophic, despite 5 years of carefully constructed distance, her body remembered exactly how perfectly they fit together. She needed to leave immediately. Jasmine slipped from the bed, her legs unsteady. She grabbed her dress, not caring about its wrinkled state, but catching her reflection in the full-length mirror stopped her cold. She looked like a woman thoroughly loved. Her dark auburn hair was wild, her hazel eyes still heavy with desire, and there, on her collarbone, a faint mark from his mouth. The memory crashed over her. Last night at the tech industry gala, seeing him across the ballroom after 5 years of complete silence. The way time seemed to fracture when their eyes met. How her carefully built composure shattered when he walked toward her with that devastating intensity in his dark eyes. Going somewhere already? His voice rumbled from the doorway, deep and rough with mourning. Jasmine spun around, pressing the dress against her body. Damian stood there wearing only black pajama pants that hung dangerously low on his hips. His chest was bare, showing the lean, muscled physique she remembered touching last night with desperate hands. His jet black hair was disheveled, and those storm gray eyes watched her with an expression that made her knees weak. "I shouldn't be here," she managed, her voice breathless. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossing over that distracting chest. "That's what you said 5 years ago, right before you walked out of my life without explanation." The accusation stung because it was true. 5 years ago, she had disappeared after his mother made it brutally clear that a struggling designer from a working-class background had no place in the Blackwell dynasty. Catherine Blackwell's words still echoed sometimes. "You're dragging him down, making him choose between love and his legacy." "That was different," Jasmine said. "Was it?" Damian pushed off the doorframe, moving toward her with predatory grace. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks identical. You trying to run before we have to acknowledge what happened." What happened was a mistake. The lie tasted bitter on her tongue. He stopped directly in front of her, close enough that his body heat radiated against her skin. "A mistake that took 3 hours? A mistake where you said my name like a prayer? A mistake that left marks on my back, from your nails?" Jasmine's breathing quickened. "Stop. Tell me something, Jasmine." His voice dropped lower, more intimate. "When I found you on that terrace last night, when you turned around, and I saw that dress clinging to your curves, did you know what would happen?" She had known. God help her. She had known the moment she decided to attend that gala, despite knowing he would be there. She had chosen this dress deliberately, emerald green, because he once told her it made her eyes luminous. "Why did you come last night?" He pressed, his hand reaching up to barely graze her jaw. "You knew I would be there. You knew exactly what seeing each other again would do." "I came for networking," she whispered, the excuse pathetically weak. His thumb brushed across her lower lip, making her gasp. "You came because 5 years wasn't enough to kill what we had. You came because you've been lying to yourself, pretending you moved on." His eyes burned into hers. "You came because you wanted this to happen." Tears stung her eyes. Because he was right. She had spent 5 years building a successful independent design business, dating other men, convincing herself she was over Damian Blackwell. But one look across that ballroom had shattered every lie. Images from last night flooded back with visceral clarity. How he had found her on the terrace, escaping the crowd. How he had said her name, just her name, and it sounded like absolution and damnation at once. How his hand had settled on her waist, burning through the thin fabric. How she had let him pull her close, let him kiss her like he was trying to reclaim 5 lost years in one desperate moment. "Your mother destroyed my career 5 years ago," Jasmine said, fighting back tears. "She made sure every major design house knew I was trouble. I spent 2 years rebuilding from nothing." Damian's jaw tightened. "I didn't know it was that bad, because I never told you, because I loved you too much to watch you choose between your family's empire and me." She stepped back, needing distance. "So I chose for you. I left before you had to make that impossible decision. That wasn't your choice to make," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Yes, it was." A tear escaped, sliding down her cheek. "Because I knew you would choose me, and I knew your mother would cut you off. Your brother would turn against you. The company your grandfather built would slip through your fingers. And eventually, even if you never admitted it, you would resent me." The words hung heavy between them. Damian stared at her, something shifting in his expression. Then he did something completely unexpected. He sank to his knees before her. "What are you doing?" Jasmine gasped. He looked up at her, his hands resting on her hips through the dress she clutched. "5 years ago, I was a coward. I let you walk away because I told myself you would come back. I convinced myself you just needed space. But you never came back. And I realized too late that I should have fought for you. Should have burned my mother's expectations to ash rather than lose you." His voice broke slightly. "Don't ask me to let you go again. Don't ask me to watch you walk out that door knowing I might never see you again." Jasmine's hands trembled as they touched his face, feeling the stubble on his jaw. "Your family will never accept this. Your mother will destroy us both this time. Then she loses a son," he said firmly. "The company is just business. You are my life." The words settled between them like a vow, heavy and irrevocable. Jasmine looked down at this man, this brilliant, powerful man kneeling before her, as if she held his entire world in her hands. Maybe she did. Maybe she always had. Before she could respond, the sound of the penthouse door opening shattered the moment. Damian stood quickly, positioning himself protectively in front of Jasmine. "Damian, we need to talk. Now." The voice belonged to a younger man, sharp with urgency. "Owen, what the hell are you doing here?" Damian's tone shifted instantly to controlled irritation. His brother appeared in the bedroom doorway, then froze when he saw Jasmine clutching her dress behind Damian. Owen Blackwell was 28, handsome in a polished way that reminded Jasmine of old money and boarding schools. His expression cycled through surprise, recognition, and something that looked almost like sympathy. "Miss Cole," he said carefully, "I didn't realize you were here." Jasmine lifted her chin, refusing to be embarrassed. Owen had always been kinder than the rest of the Blackwell family, though that bar was devastatingly low. "Hello, Owen. Get out," Damian said flatly to his brother. "Whatever this is, it can wait. No, it really can't." Owen's expression turned serious. "Mother called an emergency board meeting for this afternoon. She's pushing to accelerate your engagement announcement to Vivian Hartford." The name hit Jasmine like cold water. Vivian Hartford, daughter of Hartford Technologies, the company Blackwell Industries had been courting for a merger. She had heard rumors about an arranged business marriage, but hearing it confirmed made her stomach twist violently. Damian's back stiffened. "I'm not marrying Vivian. I've told Mother that repeatedly, and she's told the board you've agreed." Owen stepped further into the room, his expression apologetic. "She's been planning this for months, Damian. The merger documents are ready. Vivian's father expects an announcement at the charity gala next week." Jasmine's hands went numb. Next week. They had planned his entire future, packaged him up with contracts and expectations, and he was supposed to just comply. "She's manipulating the board," Owen continued, "painting you as unreliable, claiming you've been distracted. If you don't show up this afternoon and publicly commit to the Hartford merger, she's threatening to call for a vote of no confidence. Let her, Damien said coldly. I'll survive a board challenge. Will you? Owen's voice dropped. She's been collecting proxies for months. She has the votes, Damien. You'll lose your position as CEO. Everything father works to build. Everything you've accomplished in the last 3 years since taking over. She'll dismantle it out of spite. Jasmine felt like she couldn't breathe. This was exactly what she had feared 5 years ago. Exactly why she had left. Loving Damien meant watching his world burn. You should go handle this, she said quietly, stepping around Damien to gather her shoes. This is more important. Don't. Damien caught her wrist. Don't you dare use this as an excuse to run again. I'm not running. I'm being realistic. She looked at Owen. How long does he have before the meeting? 3 hours, Owen said, watching them both carefully. But, Miss Cole, this isn't just about one meeting. Mother has been planning this campaign for months. She knew you attended the gala last night. Those photographs of you and Damien leaving together are already circulating on social media. She's going to use them to paint Damien as reckless and unsuitable for leadership. Of course, she is. Jasmine felt the familiar weight of Catherine Blackwell's strategic cruelty settling over her shoulders. Your mother is nothing if not thorough, Jasmine. Damien's grip on her wrist tightened. Look at me, she did, and the intensity in his eyes made her heart stutter. Go get dressed, he said firmly. You're coming with me to that board meeting. That's insane. I'll only make things worse. Good. Let it get worse. Let mother see exactly what I'm choosing. He pulled her closer. 5 years ago I let you protect me by leaving. I'm not making that mistake again. If she wants a war, she'll get one. But this time you're standing beside me, not sacrificing yourself in some misguided attempt to save me from my own family. Owen cleared his throat. For what it's worth, I think she should stay away from the office today. Mother will eviscerate her. Then mother and I will have a problem, Damien said without breaking eye contact with Jasmine. What's it going to be? Are you brave enough to stop running? The challenge hung between them. Jasmine thought about 5 years of loneliness, of rebuilding her career through sheer determination, of lying to herself that she was happy. She thought about his mother's cold dismissal, the social media articles calling her a gold digger, the way loving him had nearly destroyed her once before. Then she thought about how it felt when he kissed her, how right it felt to wake up in his arms, how tired she was of being afraid. I need clothes, she said finally. Real clothes, not a cocktail dress. And coffee. Lots of coffee. Damien's smile was fierce and beautiful. Owen, call Jasmine's assistant. Have her bring appropriate business attire here within the hour. Already texting, Owen said, looking at his phone. Though I'm fairly certain we're all going to regret this. Probably, Jasmine agreed. But I'm done letting your mother dictate my life. An hour later, Jasmine stood in Damien's penthouse wearing a sharp charcoal suit her assistant Sophia had delivered with impressive speed. She had showered, applied makeup to hide the evidence of sleeplessness, and pulled her hair into a professional chignon. The woman, staring back from the mirror, looked confident, capable, ready for battle. She was terrified. You don't have to do this, Damien said from behind her, his hands settling on her shoulders. I can handle mother alone. No, you can't. Jasmine turned to face him. She's been controlling you through guilt and obligation your entire life. The only way to break that pattern is to show her she has no power anymore. He was dressed in a perfectly tailored navy suit, every inch the tech billionaire CEO, but his eyes held uncertainty. What if this ruins everything? The company, the merger, my relationship with Owen? Then we build something new. Jasmine straightened his tie even though it didn't need straightening. Something that's actually ours. Not inherited obligation. The drive to Blackwell Industries headquarters took 20 minutes. Jasmine spent the time reviewing what Owen had told them about the board composition, the Hartford merger terms, and Catherine's strategy. The woman was brilliant and ruthless, qualities Jasmine might have admired in different circumstances. The Blackwell building was impressive, all glass and steel reaching toward the Chicago sky. Employees stared as Damien walked through the lobby with Jasmine at his side. Whispers, following their path to the executive elevators. "Let them talk," Damien murmured, his hand warm on her lower back. The boardroom was on the 42nd floor, a massive space with a wall of windows overlooking the city. 12 board members were already seated around the polished table when they entered. Catherine Blackwell sat at the far end, perfectly composed in a cream Chanel suit, her silver hair immaculate. Her eyes landed on Jasmine. "An ice could not have been colder, Damien. How thoughtful of you to bring a guest to a private board meeting," Catherine said, her voice dripping false courtesy. "Though I'm afraid Miss Cole will need to wait outside. This is company business." "Jasmine stays," Damien said, pulling out a chair for her directly across from his mother. "Anything you have to say about my personal life can be said in front of her." Several board members shifted uncomfortably. Jasmine recognized a few faces from 5 years ago, people who had watched Catherine destroy her reputation without saying a word. "Very well." Catherine's smile was sharp as broken glass. "Since you're determined to air your poor judgment publicly, let's discuss these photographs." She slid a tablet across the table. The screen showed images from last night. Jasmine and Damien leaving the gala together, his hand on her waist. Getting into his car, her head tilted back as he kissed her neck. The photos were intimate, undeniable, devastating. "You've been back in contact with Miss Cole for less than 24 hours, and you're already making headlines for all the wrong reasons," Catherine continued. "The board has legitimate concerns about your ability to lead this company if you cannot control your personal impulses. My personal life is not board business," Damien said coldly. "It is when it threatens a $100 million merger." Catherine stood, commanding the room. "Vivian Hartford's father will not agree to combine our companies if you're involved in a scandal with your former girlfriend. He expects stability, respectability, a proper marriage alliance. Then perhaps the Hartford merger isn't worth pursuing." The room went silent. Catherine's mask of composure cracked slightly. "Excuse me." Damien stood, his hands flat on the table. "I've built this company's value by 300% in the last 3 years. I've expanded into markets father never considered. I've made every person at this table wealthier than they were when I took over. And I did it without compromising my integrity or selling myself in a business marriage." "This is about more than business," Catherine said, her voice hardening. "This is about family legacy, about maintaining our position in society. No, mother. This is about control." Damien's voice was steel. "You spent my entire life trying to mold me into father's image, making decisions for me, arranging my future like I'm a chess piece instead of your son. I'm done." "You're being foolish," Catherine hissed, all pretense of civility abandoned. "That woman destroyed your focus 5 years ago. She'll do it again. She's a distraction, a liability." "That woman," Jasmine said, speaking for the first time, "has a name, and a successful business, and enough self-respect to know when she's not wanted." She stood, looking directly at Catherine. 5 years ago, left because you convinced me I was hurting Damien. You were very persuasive about how my presence was destroying his future. I believed you. I walked away from the man I loved because I thought it was the right thing to do." Her voice strengthened. "But I've spent 5 years watching Damien from a distance, reading about his successes, seeing how he transformed this company. And you know what I realized? He did all of that despite you, not because of you. Every achievement came from his own brilliance, his own work ethic, his own vision. You didn't build him. You tried to cage him." Catherine's face flushed with anger. "How dare you speak to me that way in my own boardroom?" "It's not your boardroom," Jasmine said calmly. "It's the company's. And these board members deserve to know that your objection to me has nothing to do with my qualifications or character. You just hate that your son loves someone you can't control." The room erupted in murmurs. Owen, sitting near the middle of the table, was trying very hard not to smile. "This is ridiculous," Catherine said, turning to the other board members. "I'm calling for an immediate vote. Either Damien commits to the Hartford merger and ends this inappropriate relationship, or we remove him as CEO and install someone with better judgment." Before anyone could respond, one of the older board members cleared his throat. Gerald Chen, who had been with the company since Damien's grandfather founded it, stood slowly. "Catherine, with respect, I think you're overstepping." His voice was measured but firm. "Damien has proven his leadership repeatedly. His personal life, as long as it doesn't involve illegal or unethical behavior, is his own business. I won't vote to remove him over a relationship." Several other board members nodded in agreement. Catherine's expression turned murderous. "This is a mistake," she said, her voice shaking with rage. "You're all making a terrible mistake. The only mistake was trying to control me," Damien said quietly. "I'm not calling off my relationship with Jasmine. If the Hartford merger requires me to marry Vivian, then we'll find other partners. And if you want to call a vote, Mother, go ahead. But understand that if I'm removed as CEO, I'll start my own company. I'll take half the talent in this building with me. And in 5 years, Blackwell Industries will be a footnote while I'm changing the industry." The threat landed with perfect precision. Several board members looked genuinely alarmed. "Meeting adjourned," Catherine said abruptly, gathering her things with sharp movements. "But this conversation is far from over, Damien." She swept from the room, leaving a wake of tension behind her. Jasmine exhaled slowly, realizing she had been holding her breath. Damien's hand found hers under the table, his fingers intertwining with hers. "Well," Owen said into the silence, "that went better than expected." The week following the board meeting felt like living in the eye of a hurricane. Jasmine returned to her design studio to find her phone exploding with calls from journalists, clients concerned about the controversy, and even a few fashion houses that had rejected her 5 years ago, suddenly interested in collaboration. Publicity, even scandalous publicity, apparently had commercial value. Sophia, her assistant and closest friend, had simply looked at her and said, "You slept with him again, didn't you?" Jasmine had collapsed into her office chair. "It was supposed to be closure. One night, to finally get him out of my system. How's that working out?" "Not well," Jasmine had admitted. "I think I'm about to destroy his company." But as the days passed, something unexpected happened. The narrative began to shift. A prominent business journalist published an article questioning why a CEO's personal relationships should matter more than his proven track record. A feminist blogger wrote a piece about Catherine Blackwell's history of sabotaging women who got close to her sons. Social media, fickle as always, started turning the story into a romance instead of a scandal. Then Owen called with surprising news. "You need to come to the Hartford building," he said without preamble. "Now." "Why?" Jasmine asked, suspicion immediate. "Just trust me. And bring your portfolio." An hour later, Jasmine found herself in a sleek conference room across from Vivian Hartford herself. The woman was younger than Jasmine expected, maybe 26, with sharp cheekbones and intelligent dark eyes. She wore a burgundy power suit that Jasmine immediately recognized as custom. "Milan, Miss Cole," Vivian said, gesturing to a chair. "Thank you for coming. I'm sure you're wondering why I asked Owen to arrange this meeting." "The thought crossed my mind," Jasmine said carefully. Vivian smiled, and it was surprisingly warm. "I wanted to meet the woman who convinced Damien Blackwell to finally stand up to his mother. I've been trying to get out of this arranged marriage for months, but my father is as stubborn as Catherine." Jasmine blinked. "You don't want to marry Damien?" "God, no." Vivian laughed. "No offense to him. He's brilliant and attractive. But I have a girlfriend in London who I'm madly in love with. This whole merger was our parents' scheme, not ours." She leaned forward. "Here's what I'm proposing. My company needs rebranding. Our user interface is functional but boring. I've been following your work, Miss Cole. You did the brand redesign for Nexus Communications last year. It was stunning." Jasmine's mind raced. "You want to hire me?" "I want to hire you to redesign Hartford Technology's entire brand identity," Vivian said. "It's a $12 million contract. And coincidentally, if Hartford Tech has a major design project launching with the respected independent firm, it gives my father cover to pursue the merger with Blackwell Industries without the marriage alliance. He gets what he wants, business partnership, and I get to avoid becoming a Blackwell." "Why would you help me?" Jasmine asked. "Because Catherine Blackwell is a nightmare, and I'm tired of powerful women tearing down other women instead of supporting them." Vivian slid a contract across the table. Also, your work is genuinely exceptional. This is good business. But I won't lie, watching you stand up to Catherine in that boardroom and seeing how Damien looks at you, it reminded me why I'm fighting so hard for my own happiness. Jasmine looked at the contract, her hands shaking slightly. This would change everything. Not just her career, but the entire situation with Damien and his family. There's one condition, Vivian added. You have to present the proposal at our joint board meeting next week. Both companies will be there, including Catherine. Of course there is, Jasmine murmured. But she was already reading the contract, her designer's brain already spinning with ideas. She called Damien immediately after leaving the meeting. His voice was strained when he answered. Tell me something good, he said. Because I've had 5 conference calls with angry board members today. How would you feel about me working on a major contract with Hartford Technologies? The silence stretched for 3 seconds. What? She explained Vivian's offer, the rebranding project, the implications for the merger. When she finished, Damien was laughing, a sound of pure relief and amazement. Vivian Hartford is apparently a genius, he said. This solves everything, everything, Jasmine corrected. Your mother will still hate me. My mother hates everyone. But if you're coming to next week's board meeting as a professional equal rather than my girlfriend, she can't dismiss you as easily. The week passed in a blur of design work. Jasmine barely slept, pouring everything into the Hartford rebranding proposal. Sophia had to physically remove coffee from her hands at one point. Damien came to her studio each evening, bringing food and moral support, and on one memorable night, they had made love on her design table, scattering sketches everywhere. The day of the joint board meeting arrived with threatening clouds and the promise of rain. Jasmine dressed in a deep purple suit that Sophia swore made her look like power personified. She carried her presentation materials in a leather portfolio that Damien had given her that morning, with the note, "You've already won. This is just making it official." The meeting was held at Neutral Territory, a luxury hotel conference center. Both company boards sat around an enormous table, with Catherine and Mr. Hartford at opposite ends, like warring monarchs. Damien sat with the Blackwell contingent, his expression professionally neutral, but his eyes found Jasmine's immediately, and the heat in them gave her courage. Vivian stood to introduce her. Ladies and gentlemen, we've invited Miss Jasmine Cole to present a proposal that could significantly enhance our merger discussions. Miss Cole is an award-winning designer whose independent firm has worked with some of the most innovative companies in the tech sector. Vivian smiled. I believe you'll find her vision for Hartford Technologies both revolutionary and perfectly aligned with our growth strategy. Jasmine stood, moving to the presentation screen with her shoulders back and head high. She could feel Catherine's glare like a physical weight. For the next 30 minutes, she presented the most inspired work of her career, a complete rebrand for Hartford Technologies that honored their legacy while projecting them boldly into the future. She showed mock-ups of new logos, user interfaces, marketing materials, even a redesigned headquarters lobby. Every detail was perfect, every choice justified with market research and design theory. The room was silent when she finished. Then Mr. Hartford began to clap, slowly at first, then with genuine enthusiasm. Several other board members joined in. Miss Cole, that was extraordinary, Mr. Hartford said, standing. You've just shown me possibilities I hadn't even considered. If this is the caliber of talent the Blackwell companies work with, then I'm even more convinced this merger is the right move. Catherine's face had gone through several colors during the presentation. Now, she looked like she had tasted poison. This is highly irregular, she said tightly. We're here to discuss merger terms, not award design contracts. On the contrary, Mr. Hartford said. This demonstrates exactly the kind of innovative thinking both our companies need. He looked at Vivian. If you're certain about moving forward with Miss Cole's firm? Absolutely, Vivian said. We've already negotiated the contract terms. Then I'm prepared to finalize the merger agreement today. Mr. Hartford smiled. Without the marriage clause. My daughter has convinced me that business and personal relationships should remain separate. Catherine stood abruptly. This is unacceptable. We had an agreement. We had a discussion, Mr. Hartford corrected, but circumstances have changed. Your son has proven his worth as a leader. My daughter has found a better strategic direction, and Miss Cole has shown herself to be a valuable professional asset. I see no reason to complicate matters with an unnecessary marriage alliance. Catherine looked around the table, seeing no support. Even Gerald Chen was nodding in agreement. Her carefully constructed plans were crumbling, and there was nothing she could do without appearing petty and unreasonable. Fine, she said through clenched teeth, but don't expect me to celebrate this disaster. She gathered her things and walked out, her heels striking the floor like gunshots. The meeting continued for another hour, finalizing merger details. Jasmine sat next to Vivian, occasionally catching Damien's eye across the table. He looked lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. When the meeting finally adjourned, Damien crossed the room immediately, not caring who was watching. He pulled Jasmine into his arms and kissed her thoroughly, making several board members cough in embarrassment. That was incredible, he murmured against her lips. You were incredible. I had good motivation, she said, smiling. Also, Vivian's contract is going to keep my studio busy for the next year. Owen appeared beside them, grinning. Mother is furious. It's beautiful. He looked at Jasmine with genuine respect. Welcome to the family, Miss Cole. You've earned it. Over the next 6 months, Jasmine's life transformed completely. The Hartford contract led to other high-profile jobs. Her studio expanded, hiring 3 new designers. Fashion magazines that once ignored her calls now sought her opinions. She moved from her cramped apartment to a beautiful loft in the Arts District. But the best change was Damien. They built a relationship based on equality and honesty instead of secret meetings and stolen moments. He supported her career ambitions. She attended his business functions without feeling like an accessory. They fought, sometimes, passionate arguments that ended in equally passionate reconciliations. They learned each other all over again, discovering how they had changed and how they had stayed fundamentally the same. Catherine never warmed to her, but she stopped actively sabotaging them. Owen became a genuine friend, and slowly, grudgingly, the rest of Chicago's elite society accepted that Damien Blackwell had chosen love over convenience. And the world hadn't ended. On a cool autumn evening, Damien took Jasmine to the rooftop garden of his penthouse. The city glittered below them, lights reflecting off the lake in the distance. He had been unusually quiet all day, almost nervous. You're making me anxious, Jasmine said, taking his hand. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. He smiled, but his hand trembled slightly. I've just been thinking about the night you came back into my life. How you woke up in my bed and tried to run. How I almost let you. I'm glad you didn't, she said softly. Me too. He pulled a small box from his pocket and Jasmine's breath stopped. 5 years ago I let you walk away because I was afraid of making the wrong choice. I thought protecting my family's expectations mattered more than fighting for us. I was an idiot. He opened the box, revealing a ring. Not ostentatious, not a massive diamond meant to impress, but an elegant platinum band with a single perfect emerald surrounded by smaller diamonds. This time, I'm not afraid. This time, I know exactly what matters. He got down on one knee, looking up at her with everything he felt shining in his eyes. Jasmine Cole, you are the bravest, most talented, most infuriating woman I've ever known. You challenge me, inspire me, and make me want to be better than I am. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that choosing love was the smartest decision I ever made? Tears streamed down Jasmine's face. She dropped to her knees in front of him, framing his face with her hands. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. I'll choose us every single day for the rest of our lives. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly, like it had been waiting all along. Then he kissed her, deep and sweet and full of promise, while the city lights sparkled around them like fallen stars. 6 months later, they married in a small ceremony at the Chicago Botanic Garden. Sophia stood as maid of honor. Owen was best man. Mr. Hartford attended, as did Vivian and her girlfriend. Even a few Blackwell family members came, though Catherine was notably absent, but Jasmine didn't care. As she walked down the aisle toward Damien, seeing the way his eyes filled with tears when he saw her in her custom-designed dress, she knew they had already won the only battle that mattered that night. In their hotel suite, Damien slowly removed every layer of her wedding dress, his hands reverent and sure. And as they came together as husband and wife, as partners who had fought through fire to find each other, the past finally released its hold. They built a life together on their own terms. Jasmine's design firm thrived, eventually opening offices in New York and Los Angeles. Damien continued transforming Blackwell Industries, taking risks his mother never would have approved. They traveled, filling their home with art and memories instead of obligation and expectation. And sometimes, late at night, when they lay tangled together in their bed, Damien would trace the place where that first mark had been. That morning, she woke up trying to run. "I'm glad you stayed." He would whisper, "Me too." She would answer, always, "Me too." Because sometimes love doesn't work the first time. Sometimes you have to lose everything to understand what truly matters. Sometimes you have to run away to learn how to stand and fight. And sometimes a billionaire's touch burns so deep that no amount of distance or time can make it fade. But when you finally stop running, when you choose courage over fear, that burn transforms into something beautiful, something eternal, something worth every scar, every sacrifice. Every moment of doubt. It transforms into home.